Working in radio, I knew music had potential like nothing else, but no one could have told me it would all happen this fast. Los Angeles, early 1981. The cameras were rolling. The dancers were smiling, and Soul Train looked exactly the way America expected black music to look. Then Princey walked onto that stage. He was not dressed to please, not dressed to explain, and not dressed to ask permission. In that moment, something shifted. Something cracked. People inside the studio later said Don Cornelius did not see an artist standing there. He saw a problem. A threat to an image he had spent more than a decade protecting. What followed was never announced, never written down, and never explained on air. Prince was not publicly banned. He was quietly erased. No confrontation, no statement, just absent. And yet, from that point on, Prince almost completely disappeared from Soul Train. Even as he rose to become one of the most powerful black artists in history. To understand how that happened, you'd have to go back before the silence, before the cameras, before the mythology hardened around Prince's name. In 1979, Prince made a decision that quietly changed everything. He signed with Warner Brothers Records under terms almost unheard of for a young black artist. He demanded full control over his music. Not just songwriting or vocals, but production, instrumentation, arrangement, and image. Every sound, every lyric, every visual choice. It was a declaration of independence. And it immediately separated him from an industry built on control. Prince was only 21, but he already understood something executives feared. Control was power. At the same time, Soul Train was operating under an entirely different philosophy. By the late 1970s, it was no longer just a music show. It was a cultural shield. Don Cornelius had built it to protect black artists from ridicule and distortion on mainstream television. The show offered romance instead of rage, joy instead of confrontation, polish instead of chaos. It was safe, but that safety came with rules. Those rules were never written down, but everyone knew them. No explicit sexuality, no confusing gender presentation, no imagery that could scare sponsors or unsettle parents. Above all, Soul Train believed in presenting a positive black image, one that reassured America rather than challenged it. Prince did not believe in reassurance. In 1980, he released Dirty Mind, and it did not ease into controversy. It detonated it. The lyrics were explicit. Desire was direct. There was no metaphor, no apology, no attempt to soften the message for television. Songs spoke openly about sex, obsession, and power in ways black television had never been comfortable airing. Even more unsettling was Prince himself. High heels, lace, bikini briefs, and androgyny without explanation. He refused labels. He refused to reassure anyone about what he was or was not. For many listeners, this felt like freedom. For television executives, it felt like danger. Inside studios, Dirty Mind was quietly labeled too graphic for black TV. Not because white audiences would reject it, but because black television had spent years fighting to be seen as respected. Prince threatened that progress by refusing to play a role that had been carefully constructed for him. Still, the album could not be ignored. Critics praised it. Younger audiences embraced it. Prince attracted fans who did not just admire him, but recognized themselves in his refusal to conform. He was dismantling traditional black masculinity in real time, not asking permission to do it. For Don Cornelius, that was a serious problem. Cornelius was not interested in dismantling anything. His mission was preservation. Soul Train entered millions of black homes every week. Parents watched with their children. Churches paid attention. Sponsors monitored everything. One mistake could be used against the entire platform. From his perspective, Prince was not just pushing boundaries. He was removing them completely. This was not personal taste. It was risk management. Prince's sexuality was not playful. It was confrontational. His gender presentation was not a joke. It was intentional and unapologetic. He did not explain himself to make others comfortable, and that refusal came with consequences. By late 1980, the tension was no longer theoretical. Prince forced a question Soul Train had avoided for years. What happens when black culture evolves faster than the platform built to protect it? Prince believed television needed to catch up. Cornelius believed that if it did, it could all fall apart. Neither side was wrong, and neither side would compromise. Prince believed in absolute artistic freedom. Soul Train believed in absolute image control as a form of defense. As Prince's influence grew, excitement inside Soul Train slowly turned into hesitation. His name was discussed carefully. His image was scrutinized. His performances were seen as liabilities rather than opportunities. By the time Prince entered the Soul Train orbit in the early 1980s, the decision was already forming. Not spoken, not documented, but understood. He was powerful. He was uncontrollable. And that combination was too dangerous for a show built on reassurance. Behind the scenes, the friction grew quietly. Staff members later recalled that Prince disrupted the show's carefully managed rhythm. Sometimes he arrived extremely early, other times he arrived late. He did not greet people. He did not explain himself. He did not apologize. Unlike other artists, he refused to rehearse with the dancers. He would not adjust choreography for camera angles. Rehearsal, to him, was personal. Performance was private until the moment it wasn't. Wardrobe became another point of conflict. Requests were made to cover more skin, to soften silhouettes, to reduce overt sexual imagery. Prince declined, every time. Not angrily, not dramatically, he simply refused. What unsettled people most was his indifference. He did not argue. He did not negotiate. He let the discomfort exist. On stage, he did not suggest sexuality. He embodied it. His movements were intimate and confrontational. There was no wink to the camera, no reassurance that it was all playful. For a family-oriented show, it was deeply unsettling. Behind the scenes, quiet labels began to circulate. Too strange, too sexual, too confusing. Don Cornelius watched all of this without explosions or arguments. People close to him described not anger, but concern. He believed order protected black television. Prince did not neutralize fear. He provoked it. And once an artist proved he did not need the platform lost its leverage. As time passed, avoidance replaced confrontation. Prince was no longer encouraged to appear. His name surfaced less often in meetings. When it did, conversations were redirected. Prince noticed too. He did not protest. He did not demand answers. He withdrew and focused on albums, tours, and an audience. That did not need television approval. By 1981, the separation hardened. Prince's name quietly disappeared from schedules. A performance was prepared, then removed without explanation. No one informed him directly. No memo explained why. He simply stopped being booked. Inside the offices, a phrase circulated quietly. He doesn't fit our image. Prince did not respond publicly. Those close to him later said he understood exactly what was happening. He did not beg to be included. He built elsewhere. MTV, live shows, albums that did not require approval. From that point on, his relationship with Soul Train ended not with drama, but with silence. Then came the explosion. In 1982, Prince released 1999, and it sounded like the future arriving early. Synths replaced nostalgia. Lyrics embraced sex, freedom, and apocalypse at the same time. The album succeeded without Soul Train. Clubs embraced it. Radio embraced it. A generation saw itself reflected without apology. In 1984, Purple Rain made the gap impossible to ignore. Prince became a global icon. He fused rock, funk, gospel, sexuality, and grief into something undeniable. He crossed racial boundaries, without diluting his blackness. He dominated MTV without becoming safe. He became the most famous black man on the planet without black television's blessing. Soul Train continued. It remained respected, but it was no longer leading culture. It was following cautiously. Younger audiences noticed the absence. They noticed who wasn't there. Prince never addressed it. He didn't need to. His work answered everything. As years passed, rumors filled the silence. Insiders whispered that Prince was avoided because his image unsettled ideas of black masculinity. Others believed Cornelius feared losing control. No explanation was ever confirmed. Don Cornelius never answered the question publicly. Prince never asked it out loud. After Cornelius died in 2012, former staff quietly admitted patterns they had learned to accept, names that disappeared, styles that were discouraged. Prince's absence had become a template. Exclusion without confrontation, silence without accountability. Prince died in 2016, but the question never did. He was not rejected for lacking talent or discipline. He was rejected for being uncontainable. One man chose silence to protect a system. The other chose independence to survive it. History made its choice clear.